Hello, Aaron. If you're watching this, it's a good documentary. It makes a lot of good points, and you've been hammering on this for a while. And I'm not surprised. I'm really not. Communism doesn't work. Communism does not work, and the population doesn't want social Marxism, no matter how you sugarcoat it, no matter how you label it. It always starts with the academics. And the academics are under pressure because they're not paid out very much money. And the example that you give is the minister, and she's basing her decisions off of theoreticals, hypotheticals. And it's like they're ignoring, or they're not being informed of volumes of information over decades by private addiction services or recovery facilities. And again, I'll say this again, I can't speak for them as they are right now, but the legacy is true and it still stands. Teen Challenge and Teen Challenge Fire is one of the oldest, largest, and most successful programs when it comes to addictions. And I've highlighted this in the video. It was added to one of my playlists in the history of propaganda, having to do with junkie soldiers. And David Wilkerson is rolling in his grave right now. He's spinning. He's creating so much friction. He's self-immolating inside of his coffin. He's basically what's the word? He's cremating himself. That's what he's doing. And who benefits? It's always the question, right? Where does it's not where, but it's quite obvious, when it comes to traces right back to China. I've highlighted this before, and any student of history knows, or anyone who's interested knows of the opium wars between the British Empire and China, right? And then again, these different cycles in which opioids have destroyed countries. And the other example, of course, would be post First World War Germany and what was happening in the ghettos. No, don't point at me and accuse me of being a neo-Nazi just because I want to reference Weimar Germany. But that's the case. That's the case study, okay? There's a lot to be learned from Germany before the Second World War because of the Treaty of Versailles, right? When we're restricted to the point that for which we're choking ourselves, right, by regulation, or on the other side of the spectrum, the lack of regulation or the lack of education or re-education, as happens with Maoist China, or with Pol Pot in Cambodia, okay? Or the mercantilism of China as it is right now. Centrally planned economies are extremely dependent upon their exports, right? They don't develop internal revenues. They collect and then they distribute. That's what they do. Right? Because it's communism. By definition, Canada is a constitutional monarchy. All right? Those of you that took civics class. It's a constitutional monarchy. We are part of the British Commonwealth. The King of Canada is the same person as the King of fucking England. And the King of the Commonwealth. He made that very clear. King Charles. Now we can have youthful rebellion and disassociate ourselves from the Commonwealth, but that doesn't do away with our history. And we might as well, start snorting fentanyl and start sucking Chinese dick. Selling ourselves like whores. This is an apolitical statement. It's offensive, yes, but it's an apolitical statement. I said this, censorship is the enemy of democracy because someone stands to benefit and profit from the distribution, the addiction, and then the enslavement of a population. Now, again, the onus lies on the Liberal Party and the people that they took money from. So the United States, their political parties, they have things called super PACs. And you donate to the super PAC to support the party and then the policy. You can basically walk up to a senator, again, I'm exaggerating here for drama's sake, and buy a U.S. senator. You can buy them. I don't remember, it's something, a reference to something I watched years ago, that U.S. senators should wear suits like NASCAR drivers, so you can see every single one of their sponsors. There is a clear distinction between supporting and asking for economic stimulus and outright coercion and collusion that leads to antitrust. Now, this is my thing. This is why I'm pissed off, is because, well, I did not enjoy, I don't think it was supposed to be enjoyable, my last year in prison. I did not enjoy having meltdowns. I didn't enjoy chewing people out. I seen problems within aviation, and when I saw someone who I loved on her blog speaking about her alcoholism. And that's the fucking truth, okay? If I'm going to speak about something else, this was highlighted in Wired recently. Having to do with OnlyFans. This was the issue. It was very recent. And then the other topic was Bitcoin and laundering, and how Turkish people are one of the largest adopters and users of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in the fucking world. When I think of Turkey, I also think of Midnight Express. Right? When the fella, he goes to prison because he decides that he's going to traffic some hash, right? And he escapes. Thank God he did. Nobody likes getting fucked in the ass. Figuratively. But maybe some people do. One of the doctors behind the Stanford prison experiment passed away within the last year. I can't tell you exactly off the top of my head. I just remember seeing it on CP24 while I was in a maximum security prison for 4 misdemeanors, okay? One having to do with a failed intervention, another one having to do with a reason to believe, that for which I will not disclose, because I have a non-disclosure agreement with someone or another organization that's also involved with the organization of concern. And then the other 2, because of a misinterpretation that resulted in a peace bond. I'd rather have a peace bond that expires than a charge, a criminal charge that follows me for the rest of my life. And addiction, especially to these narcotics, is one of those things, just like one of those criminal charges, that follows you for the rest of your life. You don't ever really shake it. The guy is saying, it's again, don't believe in addicts. But that becomes a point of burnout. I'm trying to be fair to both the practitioners and the law enforcement. Because I see you as human beings. That's how I treat you, how I try to treat you. And that is how I did treat you. But then we have this mix-up between, autonomy of humanity versus the Moshiach, the savior of humanity and the destructor of humanity, which is also supposed to be the new hotness, so to speak, right? AI, right? But AI gets it wrong. AI gets it wrong. Even when it self-generates, I'll reference. I watched Dead Reckoning recently, and thank you for making that movie. That was pretty good. It's the old Maltese Falcon. There's obviously an object to what I forget what it is of the storytelling device, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that I spent a fucking year behind bars for speaking my mind. I don't necessarily want this channel to grow and become this nuclear event overnight. I don't actually like being on camera. But I never expected that some of my own family members would act as if, in response, that I had some secret narcotics addiction. Where in the hell and how in the hell was I going to afford such substance addiction, or a drug habit like that? That seems like, a waste of time. I gotta say this on for the record. The marijuana in Canada, this will make me sound like an old person, is not the same as it was. There really needs to be a bit more regulation and supportive research, if it's not being done right now, to the other endocannabinoids that are present within the plant, along with the interactions with the terpenes, that cause people to have psychotic breaks, because too high a THC content is a problem. It's a problem, and it doesn't have anything necessarily to do with schizophrenia, because it'll happen to anyone who happens to take it. There's the control, right? That's all I'm going to say about it. And again, nicotine. I went through nicotine withdrawal, and because I was having panic attacks for other reasons, because of I was feeling helpless and I couldn't actually be effective. I had to watch, or basically had to watch someone from arm's length, if not the length of a cell phone tower, destroy their own life because of burnout and pharmaceutical abuse. And then I'm the one that gets put in jail for it. I'm the one that gets threatened with 3 years of probation, a weapons ban, mandatory therapy, and submittance of a DNA sample to the sex offender registry. Fuck you. Fuck you. That's all I'm going to say about this right now. Because if you've been paying attention to my videos, not the answer, the truth presents itself. And if you don't see it and you don't want to listen, sit on it and rotate. If you don't care, I don't care. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.